Hey folks, welcome to my channel. This is Kalissa Sky, and I wanted to discuss my thoughts on Lil Kim and this whole homage discussion and how it relates to her sophomore album era, Notorious K.I.M. So recently I watched an excerpt from the Instagram Live between Lil Kim and Fat Joe. While I felt like there were some issues with that interview, just make sure you watch this clip.
On the album cover was iconic. So many girls try to emulate that pose. So many girls try to. Do you take that as flattery, or do you take it? What do you take it as when you see all these girls coming up and they all doing the? They got to do that iconic pose.
I love it. I think, that was my goal when I set out to do something that, when I'm gone, it's going to just carry on and carry on. But listen, hoes, if I'm still here, don't be trying to act like I ain't.
Oh, that's a fact. And let me tell you, your people won't let them. Your fans won't let them.
No, I think it's a beautiful thing. Like, the way I see it is that when one girl, because when me, Missy, and all of us was out, when it's one girl's turn, we all lift her up and put the crown on her. And then when it's the next girl's turn, you lift that girl up and put the crown on her.
Yeah, because I love how the girls are working together now, but they acting like you, Eve, y'all been working together. Missy, the Brat. Like, if there was a ladies' night, a new one, who would be on there right now? Who do you think would be on there? What's your choice for like a ladies' night part 2?
That will involve me and Remy, because see, the thing is like,
No, I'm just saying, like these new girls, like who would you like to see a ladies' night anthem?
Well, I don't know. I would have to really think about that. You know what I mean? I feel like, like I don't even like when people use the term old, because I feel like I didn't evolve into an old, I evolved into a monarchy. Mm-hmm. A queen that is, you understand what I'm saying? So I'm like the queen of all queens. I didn't evolve into an OG. I already was that when I first came out, you know what I'm saying? But at 17, you know what I mean? I like the fact that certain people still see you as necessary, valuable. So like, why the fuck can't me and the girls that have been around be on a fucking new remix with new artists? Like, what's up? I don't get that.
Everybody has tried to dress like you, emulate you, duplicate you. I think what you was definitely impressed on one Halloween when Beyonce dressed up like that. Now don't front with me, yo, Kim. That day you went to sleep happy that night, huh?
Yeah, that was so dope. That's what I'm saying about crowning another queen. We both have the same name. That's just what it's gonna be. She's Queen B and I'm Queen B. Period. She's Queen Bay and I'm Queen B. That's just it. You know what I'm saying? Her name happened to start with a B. My name started with a B. So we both Queen Bs. And I don't see nothing wrong with that. And I love Beyonce. Every time we see each other, which I don't know who, like all of the people who try to cause commotion about it, but every time we see each other, we kiss, we hug, and we talk. And you know what I mean? We used to be really, really close, but over the years, our careers went in certain directions, so we don't get to see each other as much. But I know me and Beyonce would do something freaking absolutely phenomenal, out of this world. We did work together on on something before, but when her and Jay-Z was like wilding at the Grammys party, when they was like jamming to when I performed with Puffy at the Grammy, at the Grammy Clive there.
The Grammy party.
That was so crazy to look and just see them in the audience, like just showing mad love. That was dope. And then afterwards, we all hung out at Puffy's parties. At Puffy's house. So, she came and told me how great the performance was. So,
nah, she love you, man. You know that. Let me take it to the movie, the Biggie movie. Did you like how your character was portrayed? Because it was a major part of the movie.
Yeah, no, I hate that movie. To me, it was like a spoof. It was something that I would have never agreed to. I didn't like who played me. I didn't know No, 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 no.
So you ain't like who play. So who would you have play
I'll
you?
go to Brooklyn and find a girl within that period that I feel represents Brooklyn, knows what it's like to grow up in Brooklyn. And then once I got in the movie, when I get a little older, I would play myself from that stage. But from that point, I gotta go to Brooklyn and give some little girl from Brooklyn a chance to really, really show, like, I know who Lil Kim is for real.
Facts.
Yeah, that's a fact. I seen Tiana Taylor act like you before. Damn, boy, look at all this lovey-dovey going on, man. What's up?
I have no idea. Like, it's just like, as a matter of fact.
Right, because we know we in a tough time right now, with racially and everything in America. And so when you see your fellow artists, like females, you seen Cardi and Meg do this song, and they got attacked for like doing this song. Like, what do you feel like? You've been making music like this your whole life. Like, so what do you think about it?
It is what it is. So what? You know?
Make your music talk your shit.
Yeah, make your music talk your shit.
Yeah, because I feel like it's always so hard, right? Like, they make it so hard for females to get along, or when a female do some shit. Like me and Papers, we rap about shit all the time. This foul as shit.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody talking about that. But when a female do some shit, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
And all we doing is representing for the females. That's it. I don't understand. Like, we representing. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. So I've always felt like, this is my personal opinion. You ain't got to co-sign it or nothing, but I always felt like you the blueprint. You the DNA for it. Do you feel like you get your flowers? Do you feel like they give you your props?
No, that's okay. No, I don't. But it's okay, because I don't want no flowers. I want some money. I want a check. I want fucking deposit, cash on demand, CODs. That's what I want.
Right.
Let me tell you something. There should be a Lil Kim like series, like.
Yeah, you know what I don't like, Joe? I don't like when people want to steal from me or do something for me. That's when they give me my props, and then they don't really want to come behind the scenes and show the love. That I love, especially amongst the females. Like, I love when we could hang out. Me, Mary, Missy, we used to drive to the beach together and chill on the 4th of July. Like, we used to hang out. We used to listen. We go to the studio just to hang out, and then it's like, yo, I think I got something for that. Just jump on it. It's never planned. It should just be love. It should be like, yo, we rolling.
Yeah, I think you embody that, because anybody who don't like Lil Kim, they're the greatest haters on the planet Earth. No, I'm saying the truth.
He always say that.
It's the truth, because all I've seen you do my whole life is embrace people and show love.
It. I don't know. I don't understand when they say I don't. Like, I think that's just a way of just trying to make up a narrative when they do that. Like, a narrative about who I am. I think that's what they just do, just so that they can have an excuse to hate me.
So I felt that Fat Joe was setting her up to start some drama, as per usual with female musicians when anyone interviews female musicians. But I did read some discussions from people regarding her quote-unquote bitterness in the video, and I noticed how quick people were to dismiss Lil Kim. I understand Gen Z tends to be more keen on Nicki because that's who they grew up with. That's the female rapper that was big during their youth. So it makes sense. But then I had to recall my favorite era of her, which was Notorious K.I.M. It's actually Notorious K.I.M, but that's the way she goes by it, is most likely Notorious K.I.M. And I couldn't really think of any hits from the Notorious K.I.M era. In fact, I was really tied into pop culture and black music at the time, so it got me thinking, were millennials any more loyal than Gen Z? She didn't receive strong support during the Nicki tension in the early 2010s. In fact, most of my peers were quicker to defend Nicki. Furthermore, while I really loved her aesthetics from the Notorious K.I.M era, I really had to think about what else I loved other than one or two hits from the actual album. I decided to revisit this era of Kim and focus on the promotion and anything else during this era that contributed to the lack of loyalty people have for her today. What happened? Kimberly Denise Jones was born on July 11, 1974 or 1975. She was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and lived much of her adolescent life on the streets due to her physically abusive father. He was also abusive to Kim's mother and stepmother. She left the home at age 14 and stayed with neighbors and older men. She had jobs working in department stores, following in the footsteps of her mom, who worked at Macy's, and ran errands for drug dealers. She had a really tough life, and I will not go into full detail about her life away from home because it can be really triggering. Jones would freestyle rap, and in 1994 she was discovered at age 17 by 19-year-old fellow rapper Christopher Wallace, who is known as the Notorious B.I.G. Throughout this, I will be calling him Biggie. He invited her to join his group Junior Mafia, and their debut album, Conspiracy, generated 2 top 20 singles in the United States and was certified gold. She modeled her vocal flow on that of Biggie, with added grunts and ferocity, while image revolved around her sex appeal. It was Biggie's idea for Kimberly Jones to create the Lil Kim alter ego, and he encouraged her to cultivate an erotic style that would be dubbed gangsta porno rap. It was also no secret that these two were lovers, even after Biggie married Faith Evans in 1994. After achieving a success with the hip-hop group Junior Mafia and their album Conspiracy in 1995, Kim began working on her solo album with Biggie, who served as the executive producer and performed on 4 of the album's songs. Lil Kim's debut album Hardcore was released on November 12, 1996, under Undies Recordings, Big Beat Records, and Atlantic Records. She also collaborated with a number of producers such as P. Diddy, Stevie J, David Ski Willis, and Jermaine Dupri, among others. Other rappers including Jay-Z, Lil C's, and P. Diddy were featured on the album. Hardcore debuted at number 11 on the US Billboard 200 and at number 3 on the Billboard's top R&B albums. How this is considered R&B, I have no idea. It sold 78,000 copies in its first week and has sold 5 million copies worldwide. Hardcore was certified double platinum on March 14, 2001, after having been certified gold on January 6, 1997, and platinum on June 3, 1997. 2001 is a special year for Kim, so we'll get back to that later. The album's lead single was No Time, a duet with P. Diddy, and the following single was Crush on You, which was a remixed version of the track.
I know you see me on the video. True. I know you heard me on the radio. True. But you still don't pay me no attention. Listening to what your girlfriends mention. He's a slut, he's a hoe, he's a freak. Got a different girl every day of the week. It's cool, not trying to put a rush on you. I had to let you know that I got a crush on you.
On March 9, 1997, Biggie was shot and killed in Los Angeles. And despite how life-altering this was for Kim, she continued to pursue a successful music career. In June of 1997, a remix of the Hardcore album's track Not Tonight was released and was part of the soundtrack to the Martin Lawrence movie Nothing to Lose. The remix included Lil Kim, Missy Elliott, Angie Martinez, Da Brat, and Left Eye of TLC, with the song peaking at number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100. song was nominated for a Grammy Award and certified platinum. Not Tonight sounds nothing like the original song, but that was the norm for remixes before a J-Lo remix in the early 2000s caused some controversial drama on the charts. The Not Tonight EP was released in 1997, which included the Not Tonight remix, Crush on You, and Drugs featuring Biggie. In 1997, Lil Kim continued to promote hardcore by performing on P. Diddy's No Way Out tour. The tour continued through 1998 and became one of the highest grossing hip-hop tours of all time, grossing an estimated $16 million.
This show perfect, even if it means long hours, us rehearsing to the end of the night. What's up? I was looking at Amazon, doing her stage shows. I said, dang, I gotta do that one day.
That same year, she launched her own label, Queen Bee Entertainment, after previously being contracted to Big Beat and Undiaz. She also spent time doing features for different artists. A notable feature was in 1999, where she was featured on Mobb Deep's Quiet Storm remix.
It's the real to make you feel, dump 'em in the club, have you out and out when you bump this, drugs to your eardrum, the war uncut, having OD, cause it's never enough.
And Tommy Lee's song Get Naked. Very random.
The all black hall.
From 1998 to 2000, Lil Kim continued working under the management of Biggie's best friend Damian Butler's Rock Management. Under this management, she continued touring and modeling for various fashion and pop culture companies, including Candies, Versace, Iceberg, and Baby Phat. P. Diddy assisted Kim with starting Queen Bee Entertainment. Junior Mafia also joined this label. In December of 1999, Kim signed to Atlantic, which agreed to also provide distribution for the artist on Queen Bee Entertainment. On June 27, 2000, Lil Kim released her second album, The Notorious K.I.M. The era marked a new image and a revamped look for Kim. Despite the limited success of its singles, the album debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200 and number 1 on the Hot R&B Hip Hop Songs chart, selling 229,000 copies in its first week. It was certified platinum 4 weeks after its release. It was on this LP that the well-known hip-hop feud between Lil Kim and Foxy Brown escalated. That's a whole other story. In short, I do believe the industry set them up to dislike each other because we know how profitable that can be. Unfortunately, in the summer of 1999, 12 songs from the Notorious K.I.M album were widely available through internet file sharing services and bootleg outlets, aka leaked, probably through Napster and iMesh, and I'm starting to show my age, so let me get back to this. As a result, Kim went back into the recording studio and recorded 11 songs in 3 weeks. The set's release was delayed from several scheduled dates, August 17th and November 9th, 1999, and April 25th, 2000, due to bootlegging and legal problems involving her record label.
As everybody knows, and this has been the hardest album I've ever had to do, with being depressed, with having a lot of pressure on my shoulders, with Biggie not being around. This has been the hardest album, but I know one thing, I surprised myself on this album. Hopefully this time people will really accept me as a true MC. I that's what I wanted to do. I put a lot of thought, a lot of time into this.
In a statement to Entertainment Weekly, Kim explained, "I wanted to put out the best album possible for my fans, and I needed more time in the studio to do this." Sean Puffy Combs, P. Diddy, also explained, "I am a perfectionist and so is Kim, and we will only put out an album when it's right." The Notorious K.I.M only spawned 2 singles, which was not entirely uncommon for this time period. The lead album's first single, No Matter What They Say, made it to the bottom half on the US Billboard Hot 100, which was Kim's least successful single at that time.
I'll still be worth a mill, depending how I feel. I might go on a heist, so at my wedding I could throw ice instead of throwing rice. We fly like kites, never get into fights. I got a whole bunch of dikes on Nintendo. No matter what people say, we got it going on. Who cares about what they think? Won't you come and show me how you do that, baby?
The second single from the album How Many Licks featured Cisco and underquoted this success.
But now he be on the weekend, and this black dude I call King Kong, he had a big head, get a hurricane tongue. How many licks does it take till you get to the center of the house? I got to know. How many licks does it take till you get to the center of the house? Tell me. How many licks does it take till you get to the center of the house?
A third single, Hold On, featuring Mary J. Blige, was serviced to US radio only. I did not even know this song was a single.
Buried like the cemetery. Unworthy people playing beneficiary. A lot of people eating off of one man's death. Don't you worry, B.I., I'ma ride to my last breath.
The Notorious K.I.M spent a total of 37 weeks on the Billboard 200. While it became Kim's first album to reach the top of the top R&B hip-hop album chart, it also scored her highest peak position on the Billboard 200. Remember how I mentioned how important 2001 was to Kim? This was due to the huge success of Lady Marmalade, which featured Maya, Pink, and Christina Aguilera. I did read somewhere that Lady Marmalade helped Notorious K.I.M re-enter the Billboard 200 in 2001, but I could not confirm that. I do believe that this single helped her hardcore album become platinum in 2001. And the reviews were okay. They weren't great, they weren't terrible, they were okay. While some praised Kim's work for its wittiness and sexual expressiveness, there were some not so great reviews, and you guessed it, all from men. Mostly white men. Common reviews that I kept seeing was the fact that Kim was becoming a caricature of herself and that she was overutilizing Biggie's vocals in her album, which I thought was really strange given the fact that P. Diddy and Bad Boy Entertainment used Biggie's vocals in a lot of really big hits and people praised them for it. Another really interesting review, or comment I should say, is the fact that somebody identified this album as being too weak and too retro, which I thought was really interesting. So now that we have all of the information laid out on the table, let's get to my favorite part, my opinion. The initial promotion of this album seemed pretty solid. In fact, Notorious K.I.M scored the highest first week album sales compared to her other albums throughout her career. However, the momentum of the promotion dissipated after How Many Licks. And, that's fine if this was like maybe her fourth album, fifth album, whatever, but this was her sophomore album after 4 years where she didn't release any independent projects. This was the era Kim could have milked it. She had the revamped image, the promotion, the players on her team, P. Diddy was helping her. Where did the steam go? And there was no tour. Yeah, you heard me right. There was no tour. There were performances on the Source Award, MTV, BET's 106 in Park, MTV's TRL, and Regis and Kelly?
It's wearing the same exact color.
You got a lot of reaction from that outfit.
You made quite a... Do we have a still story of that Lil Kim? Yeah, Lil Kim, there you go.
Yeah.
Now, Lil Kim, how'd you get that to stay on right there?
We use eyelash glue.
Uh-huh. Boy,
Eyelash glue.
you got a lot of press on that one, right?
Yeah.
You started the whole trend. You're not the only one wearing one of those pasties. Take a look.
Oh.
Okay, all right, there you go.
And those are all very great steps. Like I said, I really thought the initial promotion was great. She really did a lot in the beginning. And it's not her, right? This is her team. I'm really focusing on her team and the help that she really should have received. But she did a lot of great performances. It's just that it stopped. And I believe if her team focused on the ongoing promotion and the singles, which I will discuss next, she would have gained more traction and love during this era.
There was a song on there with Junior Mafia.
That's one of my favorites. I was gonna get to that. That's Do What You Like.
That's gangster.
That's gangster.
That's gangster.
So can we expect to hear something from the Junior Mafia? Because that's where you set it off, and that's where you did your thing, and that's how we all just grew to love you. As soon as you came out, it was like...
What I'm doing, I'm about to do exactly what Biggie did the first time, put my group and my family right back out. In the beginning, I would say around 2001, we working on a Junior Mafia album, so just look forward to Junior Mafia album and Little Caesar's new album. It's going to be crazy. We're going to be working while we're on tour this whole year.
So you're going to be on tour? Is it going to be like a huge tour, kind of like the Hard Knock Life tour, the Queen Bee tour?
We're trying to put something together. I've been asked to come out with Dre and Eminem. I don't know exactly how that's going to go down, but whatever I do, it's going to be major.
I know it is. I know it is.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Whenever I talk to people about Lil Kim, everyone goes straight to hardcore and it ends there. Of course, it's one of her best pieces of work, but she had another major era and it was supposed to be Notorious K.I.M. And personally, this is the time that I really got to know her because while I love her hardcore era and that little Not Tonight mini era in between, this was her time to shine on her own completely for a new generation, and I'm not sure what happened. Fans were interested, everyone was waiting, and I thought it was an ingenious idea in order to sustain herself at that time after hardcore. I'm going back to hardcore. She was going on tour with P. Diddy, she went on tours, she did modeling gigs, she did a lot of great features. And that's the thing, fans were waiting at that time. Fans were really excited about her new work. People were watching, and then it just seemed like after how many licks, the promotion just went lukewarm, and it confuses me. And this album did really well. It went platinum. People did buy it. However, it's not a very memorable piece of work from Kim, and that speaks volumes. And I mean this when I'm talking about the general public, right? Like I said, most people will not reference this album when they're speaking about Lil Kim. And that really could have been avoided because it's a great album. I do truly believe that this was based on the promotion, and of course I will get into my other point. If she even just went on tour with another artist or Bad Boy again, I don't know what other groups were around that she could have gone on tour with, but that would have really helped sustain the Notorious K.I.M era. While going on tour and the ongoing promotion would have helped sustain her career, I'm gonna address the obvious. The singles didn't really take off. And it's not entirely uncommon, like I stated before, for artists to release 2 singles from their era. For an example, Eve released 2 singles during her Scorpion era in 2001, but Let Me Blow Your Mind went number 2 on the Billboard 100. Her album even placed the same position as Kim on the Billboard 200. But Let Me Blow Your Mind, the song she did with Gwen Stefani, saved her. It was a massive hit, so promoting would still be needed, but not as necessary as it would have been for Kim during the Notorious K.I.M era. Kim didn't really have a huge hit from this album to rely on, and it seems like her team really overestimated the hits that were released. And then they probably didn't think they should put as much work into the other parts that would help her during her era. So let's look at the first hit that she released, No Matter What They Say, which was actually released about a week before the album was released. I personally loved the first single, but this song did not play at all on mainstream pop stations, and it did play a lot on the hip hop stations and also BET, but I do believe the style sound of the song affected its success. It reached number 15 on the hip hop and R&B Billboard charts. Not too bad. So let me give some context for people who are not aware of how things used to work back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Music was actually very, very segregated when we're talking about the outlets like TV and radio. Hip hop and R&B were pretty much played on the quote-unquote black stations and on BET. And then pop and rock and sometimes country were on the mainstream stations, the mainstream pop stations. Now, some rap and R&B songs did make it to these mainstream pop stations, and sometimes certain artists made it to these stations, like Brandy, Will Smith, TLC, Aaliyah, Busta Rhymes, Jay-Z, and yes, Lil Kim was one of those artists that had hits that would make it to MTV. However, this did not guarantee that all of their hits would make it to the mainstream pop stations. So sometimes maybe they had a hit that was really big on BET, didn't make it to MTV, didn't make it to the pop radio stations. And when I say stations, I am referring to TV stations and radio stations. Now, there were genre-specific radio stations that played only rock music or that played only country music, and some of that still exists today. However, MTV was much more willing to play songs from these genres compared to hip-hop and R&B, with the exception of country. Country music had to have more of a pop vibe at that time in order to enter the mainstream pop realm. And don't get me wrong, there were plenty of artists that were very successful, had very successful music careers, and stayed within the Black community. A great example of this would be Trina when she released her first album. That album was pretty popular within the Black community, within hip-hop fans. But they didn't really play anything from The Baddest B on MTV or VH1 or anything outside of BET. And when I say stations, this also includes radio stations. So radio stations, TV stations, hopefully you get the point. As the 2000s progressed, this significantly changes. So we won't talk about all that right now, but just understand that early 2000s, late 90s, music was very segregated. Going back to my point, her first single was not a massive hit, and that did harm her. But the video was excellent. It looked like they were having fun. It looked like she was having fun. It was a beautiful celebration, lots of cameos, loved it. The video was played, like I said, on BET. I do remember it. I believe it was on 106 in Park, so it did get a little bit of traction, but it literally came and went. So then we have How Many Licks. This song actually came out on October 28th, 2000. I actually didn't like the song at the time, but this was played on MTV. Due to the song's sexual nature, it was not played on pop radio stations. Remember, pop radio stations were really into Britney Spears's, Brandy's, Monica's, Christina Aguilera's. Women in mainstream pop had to be quote-unquote more wholesome in mainstream pop music. But if we're going to talk about double standards, let's just go back to Ludacris's What's Your Fantasy. That song was played everywhere, so anyway, let's get back to this. Oh, and if you have not seen this video, please, I implore you to watch this video. It is one of the wildest videos I have ever seen, ever. Another very weird thing about the video is that Cisco, who does the vocals in the song, was not in the video, and he was huge at this time. I read somewhere that there were some conflicts with the record label Def Jam, so that's why he wasn't in the video. So weird. I literally was today years old when I found out he was not in it. I didn't even notice growing up when I watched the video. While this song did a little better on the hip-hop charts than No Matter What They Say, it reached number 11 on the hip-hop and R&B Billboard chart. It only reached number 75 on the Billboard Hot 100, which we already went over previously when I went over her era as a whole, and that's low. I definitely think the reduced radio play affected the success of this song. Oh, and this is a little off topic, but the criticism this song received is just wild. It's wild. The criticism that WAP receives is like a drop in the bucket compared to the criticism How Many Licks received. I read comments from white feminists commenting on black women trying to be white, hotep black men who are just mad at black women talking about their body, white men who just couldn't keep their thoughts to themselves. It was brutal. Remember, this is before the 21st century's popularity of black women's sex positivity, so Kim received the backlash from white people and black men way more than any of the black women artists today. That's just true. So in my honest opinion, I do think that if they were going to go with those two hits, why not just release more singles from the album? After listening to the album, I believe Off the Wall and Don't Mess With Me would have been good follow-up singles. Off the Wall could have played on both pop stations and hip-hop stations, while Don't Mess With Me could have played more so on the hip-hop stations. And that was pretty standard for certain artists. For example, during Mariah Carey's Rainbow era, she released 5 singles. And about 2 or 3 of those singles were not as popular as the first 2, or at least 2 of the singles that were released. But again, this sustained the momentum of her era at that time. And I do think that would have been really ideal for Kim, especially since the first 2 singles did not take off the way she and her team had planned. It also would have been a great idea to release the How Many Licks remix right after the How Many Licks original single was released. This remix was produced by the Neptunes and had features from Khalees, Snoop Dogg, and Lil C's. Many artists released remixes as an additional single, and that usually worked out well because, like I said before, remixes sounded different than the original single, and they also released videos for those remixes. This could have been a hit, but again, I am not sure what happened. I'm still eyeing her team. So in the late 90s and early 2000s, genre bending did not exist the way it does today. Music was, like I said, it was still very segregated and also very much based on genres. So the radio stations were all genre based, and so it was not the same way as you would see a song today, where a song today would have like calypso influences, R&B influences, EDM influences. That wasn't really the case back when Kim's album came out, and also just like in the late 90s as a whole. But it's good to remember that Kim dramatically changed the style of her music on this album. She actually did away with the producers from hardcore and got a whole new team of producers to help her with this album because she wanted to go with a different vibe. In an interview with MTV News, she stated that this album to me is more creative and more versatile than my last album. I think that's what people have been looking for. My whole image to me, the reason why I came out with hardcore, the sexy thing, was to make me different from every other female rapper that was out. That's exactly what I'm trying to do now, is make myself different, because now we have a lot of rappers doing the same thing that I did when I came out for the first time. What I'm trying to do is separate myself again from the rappers that are out now. And after listening to this album, it was clear that she wanted to transition her sound into a rap, 80s rock, pop fuse. And you can hear it in several of her songs, like Heartbreaker, which samples the song Heartbreaker by Pat Benatar.
You're a heartbreaker, dream maker, love taker, don't you mess around with me. Here's the song I sing. Come on. Heartbreaker, dream maker, love taker, don't you mess around with me.
And Right Now, featuring Carl Thomas. Right Now doesn't really have an 80s influence, but it does have that pop fuse. Unfortunately, she did this at a time when, like I stated before, genre bending was not a thing. So her fans might not have received this new music the same way as they would if she released something that was similar to hardcore. This is one of the reasons I had a soft spot for Kim during the Nicki and Kim feud, because Kim really wanted to do a unique sound with her rap music during her Notorious K.I.M era, and even a little bit before that. I personally believe Nicki did this really well. I think she's actually the best rapper to have accomplished making rap music and fusing that with pop. However, even though Nicki received a lot of backlash for making bubblegum pop and fusing that with her rap music, the 2010s was becoming super electropop focused, and all genres had to include that element in their sound. R&B pretty much died during that time, and hip-hop had a totally revamped sound, including EDM and electropop elements. It just proves that Notorious K.I.M was ahead of its time. Yeah, I don't think it was a very good idea to just be the CEO of a new record label right before you were about to create and release a new album after several years. Not only that, she was also supporting Junior Mafia because they also joined in on that record label. And I completely understand. She did not like some of the things that had occurred when she was under her old record label and when she released, and I guess the process, I should say, the whole process that went into the hardcore album, she wasn't completely happy with that. And she was young. I mean, she went through a lot of adjustments. That was her first main gig. So she did learn what she liked and didn't like. So I definitely think it's a great idea to run your own record label, but it does take a lot of time, a lot of education, and a lot of learning. Now, it does say that P. Diddy, Puff Daddy P. Diddy, was helping her with the process of having a new record label. And I believe Damian D. Rock Butler was also helping her, but I don't know how much they were helping her. I know that they were executive producers on the album, but again, it takes a lot of time and effort to be the CEO of a new record label. It's a huge process. And I do feel this contributed to this the under promotion, I should say, of this album, and just the fact that this era was not as successful as I believe it could have. I do think this was part of it. Now, I am a firm believer when it comes to Black women owning their own art, their own stuff. Black people in general, but especially Black women. It just takes a lot of time to be a CEO, and it's not for everybody. I am not saying Kim did not have the strength to own her own record label, but that is just a lot of work for somebody releasing their second album to also create a record label, to gain more artists, to put in the effort to get Junior Mafia to get their album together and all of that. It's a lot of work. And I do think that it caused her to stretch herself too far and cut herself too thin. And I think that really has been, I mean, you can see that with the way this album worked. Like I said, I really look at her team and the people that should have been helping her. But this is no surprise. Black women usually don't get the help that they need, and everybody relies on them or thinks that they have things under control when they really do need help in certain situations, and especially if you're owning your own record label. Yeah, so I heard the lost tapes from Notorious K.I.M, and what the heck, y'all. This made her Notorious K.I.M album look mediocre compared to her original stuff. I'm sorry. I love Notorious K.I.M, but if I had to rate it, I'd give it a 3.8 out of 5. If I had to grade it, I'd give it a B+. Not bad, that's still great, in my opinion. But the lost tapes, I give that an A+. If she had these songs with some of the songs that were released on the album that we are able to purchase today, this album would have been so dope, and I believe it would have gone much further. It's just really clear that the songs in the original album were rushed right before they were released. Because remember, it took her 3 weeks to rewrite 11 songs. That's not a lot of time. I can't say that I would skip any of the unreleased songs on the Lost Tapes YouTube link. They're immaculate. There's nothing more I can say. My favorite song on the Lost Tapes list has to be Bad Girls, which samples Donna Summer's Bad Girls and features RuPaul, which I know RuPaul can be a little problematic with some of the past things RuPaul has said, but it is a hot song, y'all.
And this is RuPaul, and I have one thing to say to you. You better work.
Every day I go red carpet. Gave the keys to valet, told him park it. Then I jumps out the Zora. Little Kim Era. Girls making faces like Ace and Tor.
The song Bad Girls also includes some of the bars from No Matter What They Say, so you definitely hear that in the beginning of the song. The original Queen Bee Part 2, so much better. Jay-Z is actually featured in this song. I'm not really a fan of the original Queen Bee with P. Diddy. I don't love his bars in that. They sound bad to me. It just really messes up the song for me. I'm not sure how her team was with handling these internet outlets that released these songs, because Napster was relatively new at that time, and so were those internet sharing, file sharing outlets. So I'm not sure if they understood how to really protect music. But I am not going to let them off the hook. this is BS. Her team really should have worked at holding the songs better and not releasing them or not having any glitches in the system. That is just really unfortunate, and I am very disappointed in the way this worked because this album would have been phenomenal. It would have been legendary. And it's so sad that these songs were not able to be released at the time the album was released. I believe How Many Licks, the remix, was also included in these leaked songs. I'm not too sure, but it is on the Lost Tapes track list. And you know, the How Many Licks remix was released on the How Many Licks single, but like I said before, this should have been on the album and it should have been released as a single in my opinion. Just a missed opportunity. There was no video for the How Many Licks remix. There was not a lot of press on that remix, and I think that could have gone really far. Resurrection is such a strong opener for the album that could have been, so that's one of the songs on the Lost Tapes. Diamonds is a dope song. Y'all, please check it out. Like I said, it's going to be in the description. So did Kim get her flowers? She definitely receives credit from many artists today, but I do feel her pain. And not to mention, her last album, 9, significantly underperformed. It sold under 1,000 copies and was ranked one of the lowest selling albums in chart history. So I know everyone is calling her bitter, but I don't think she's mad at the newbies. When you've literally paved the way for the image we are really seeing today, and no one is inviting you to the table, it can be discouraging. She went through a lot curating the gangsta porno persona. She invented the image of bright colored wigs and dressing scantily clad while creating sexually suggestive lyrics and bars. Even though Biggie was behind the idea, she wore it. She personified it. She made it hers. This image has taken off since her presence, and even now more than ever. She also mixed different genres in the album Notorious K.I.M. This is why I wanted to focus in on this album and how underappreciated it was at its time, and today almost all of the rappers are doing that pretty much because they had to, but again, she did not get the same credit as some of the rappers today when it comes to mixing pop music with rap music. And unfortunately, we have to remember ageism mixed with misogynoir really play a part in her current status in the rap game. As much as I love hip-hop, I have to recognize that misogynoir was rampant back then, and although women are currently taking the lead in hip-hop, not much of the misogynoir and overall hate against black women has changed too much today. I do think if Kim were a cishet man, she would have most likely received the support she needed during the Notorious K.I.M era. And in reference to ageism, just look at the leading women rappers from the 1990s and 80s and how they were erased from the game after a certain age. We even started to see some of that with Nicki Minaj in 2018 during her Queen era. She was only 35 at that time. Meanwhile, there are plenty of male rappers who have solid careers over the age of 35 and even over the age of 40. I blame Kim's team. Sure, they sold a large number of albums the first week of Notorious K.I.M. She even sold more albums than Eve's Scorpion album, and sold just a little under Missy's So Addictive album. But I expected more hits, a tour for her fans, a long and deserved era for the Queen Bee's sophomore album. Because the content was there, the look was there, the persona was there, but the fire died down. It was really necessary for her to make an influence for a new generation. I think she really missed the mark in 2000, but this is due to the fact that this was her shining moment and it wasn't carried out well. But who knows, maybe there's still hope. Either way, she will always be a legend who has made room for women to be free in their own skin and sexuality, and that will never be forgotten. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel and share this video if you can. Bye!